Hey guys, welcome to Motoroids. My name is Amit and this is the much awaited big new WagonR, and Maruti have made a lot of changes to this car, including an all new platform which is the hardtech platform. The design has been overhauled, the space has been increased. There is a new engine option now, the 1.2 litre. So a lot of changes have been made, and we have driven this car enough to let you know everything about it. And we are going to start with the design first. And as you can see, the completely boxy nature of the previous car has been rounded off at the corners to make it look slightly smarter, slightly neater. And it's very evident in places like these where there are slight curves, where the edges of the car have been rounded off. And up front, if you really see, Maruti have tried to give it a chunkier, a little more muscular look, because the previous car looked very boxy and in some places slightly flimsy also. So they have tried to make it look a lot more chunkier and a lot more muscular in some places, so that it comes across as more substantial. So the front grille here is quite bold and has this chrome insert in the middle with the Suzuki logo sitting in the middle. The bumper is quite big and has this lower radiator grille with 3 slats, and has this for bash plate kind of a treatment at the bottom. The bumper has these 2 fog lamps on the 2 sides, and the headlamp by itself is quite big and is split horizontally in 2. Has the headlamp on the top and blinkers at the bottom. Coming towards the side, you have these 14-inch wheels for the Vxi variants and above. For the lower variants, the Lxi variants get 13-inch wheels. Here you get 165 section rubber. On lower 13-inch wheels you get 155 rubber. This is MRF ZB TV, and the grip from these is reasonable, not all that great but reasonably good. Maruti calls these wheel arches as flared wheel arches, although they are slightly recessed, but still there is a highlight, and these wheel arches are quite highlighted. They stand out and have their own character. Another important character line that this car has on its side is this line which rises up on the doors and then goes down again at the rear door. So it's kind of a hump and gives it a nice smooth flowing kind of a character on the side and cuts the boxy nature of the car. Now a lot of people have a problem with the fact that the WagonR is very boxy, but the fact that this is boxy liberates a lot of space inside, and it's inspired by the K cars of Japan, where there's very little space for cars, and what they do is make the cars as boxy as possible to liberate as much space as possible and make them as tall as possible for optimum headroom. And that's what this car also does. It liberates the maximum amount of space from the minimum wheelbase, and the space inside is really phenomenal, and I'm going to let you know all about it. A few other details are this black taping on the B pillar, which you get Vxi variant onwards, and there are a lot of features which are specific to some variants, and I'm going to let you know all about them variant by variant in a bit. But let's see the design first. These door handles here are body colored. In addition, at the rear you get this black panel which gives the roof a floating effect, and it looks rather nice. Coming towards the rear, you have the tail lamps stacked vertically. You have the brake lamps here, you have the blinkers here, and the reverse parking light at the bottom. And this vertically stacked tail lamp design has been adopted by a lot of car manufacturers of late. On the WagonR also it looks pretty nice and neat. The tailgate gets this big WagonR chrome slat. WagonR branding can be seen here. Suzuki logo sits here. At the bottom you have these parking sensors and this for bash plate kind of a thing at the bottom, which gives a nice contrast to the bumper. Overall the car looks very smart, very well rounded in places, and although it's not going to win any beauty contests, I really believe that Maruti have done a very good job with rounding off the edges, and it looks very smart, if not extremely beautiful. It's very smartly done, and on the road it looks more substantial, more solid than before. To understand the features of the car, we have to first understand the variants that are available on the WagonR. You have the 1.0 and the 1.2 petrol, which are the engine variants, and then you have the Lxi, Vxi and Vxi AGS on the 1.0, and on the 1.2 you have Vxi, Zxi and Zxi AGS. Now let's look at the exterior and see what is available where. Talking specifically about features, this fog lamp is available only in the top of the line 1.2 Zxi variant. The roof antenna is there on all the variants. The wheel caps are available from Vxi variant onwards. The signal lamp integrated in the ORVM is available only in the top of the line 1.2 Zxi variants. Rear wiper and washer is also available only in the top of the line 1.2 Zxi variant. Body colored ORVMs and body colored door handles are available on Vxi variants and above. Body colored bumpers are available in all variants, and that's a very good thing. You don't have black bumpers on any of the variants. The rear defogger that you see here is available only on the top of the line 1.2 ZXi and not on any other variant. So that's the story outside, and now we're going to get inside and see how much space is there and the features that we have. But before that, let's have a look at the key. So this key has remote lock and unlock, but it's available only on Vxi variants and above. And now it's time to get in. The WagonR has always been one of the easiest cars to get in, and even for the elderly and the ladies in the house, it's very easy to get in because the seat is just at the right height, and it's one of the most comfortable cars if you have a family where you have people who don't have very strong knees. On the door panels, you have space for a 1 liter water bottle and map pockets, and the door handle inside can also accommodate a wallet. You also have power windows which are there right from the base variant. But for the Lxi variant, they are available only for the front 2 windows, and from Vxi variant onwards, you have power windows for all 4 windows. The driver side auto down function is also available in all variants from Vxi variant onwards. Electrically adjustable ORVMs are there from Vxi variant onwards, but if you want power folding mirrors, you'll have to buy the top of the line 1.2 ZXi variant. Once inside, you are greeted with this very nicely finished, very neat layout. The visibility all around is very good. Although the quality of the materials is not very high, but everything has been put together very, very well. And the plastics, although they are not soft to touch, they are not very hard also. And if you scratch them, they are not those very tough, very hard, rough edged plastics. They are reasonably good quality for this segment, and that's appreciable. The more important thing is that everything has been put together very, very neatly. There absolutely are no sharp edges or any panel gaps anywhere. Now let's start with the steering wheel, and from Vxi variant onward, you get this tilt adjustable steering wheel, which also has mounted controls. However, if you want these controls, you have to buy Vxi variant and above, and these voice controls are available only in the top of the line 1.2 ZXi variant. Taking a look at the instrument console, it's been very smartly done, and in the center you have this big speedo. Let's have a look at the telltale lights. You have all the telltale lights here, and this digital MID has a tacho, but only in the top of the line variant. On the lower variants, you don't have this tachometer. Also, the gear indicator is not there in the manual variant, it's there only in the AGS. Apart from that, there is a ton of info that you have here. You have the range, you have the odo, you have 2 trip meters, you have instantaneous fuel efficiency, and you have the average fuel efficiency, which by the way is very good here. As you can see, 19.3 kmpl. You have a clock, you have the fuel gauge, and in addition you also have low fuel indicator and seat belt reminder. So it's a reasonably good instrument console with all the information that you require. In addition, what's very impressive is this 7-inch infotainment system, what Maruti calls the SmartPlay Studio Infotainment System, but you have to understand that this is available only on the 1.2 ZXi, not even on the 1.0 Vxi variants. Only the 1.2 ZXi will get you this, and this works in conjunction with a SmartPlay Studio app, which can be downloaded onto your smartphone. By the way, this is also Apple CarPlay and Android Auto compliant, and while there are only 2 speakers, the audio quality is not bad. I heard it, and while the audio quality on the Santro is better, this is also not complaint worthy, and this doesn't blast when you increase the volume at the higher level. So the sound quality is reasonably good for this class. The infotainment system, as I mentioned, connects with the SmartPlay Studio app, which by itself has 3 more apps to be downloaded. One is the AHA radio, which is an internet radio. You also have the SmartPlay navigation, which is an online and offline navigation and works in conjunction with your phone. And you also have SmartPlay remote, using which you can use your phone to control the infotainment system while being in the back seat. So this infotainment system is pretty information rich and is pretty good for the class. I'll do a separate video detailing all the features of this infotainment system. From a connectivity perspective, you get a 12-volt power socket here, you get a USB socket here and an aux in here, and you can connect your phone through Android Auto and Apple CarPlay using this socket here. The AC controls are basic, and there is no climate control, which is understandable for this segment. The rotary dials have a positive feel, although the design could probably have been better. From a space perspective, you have this space to store a cell phone or a wallet here. You have a big bottle holder here, and in addition you have this glove box, and only for the top of the line 1.2 ZXi you have this tray under the front passenger seat. You also have this feature of day-night mirrors. On the driver's side you have this toll ticket holder, and on the passenger side you have a vanity mirror. interior has been done in this two-tone treatment of black and beige, and the seats are done in beige and brown, so it really gives a very light and airy feel to the interior and makes it feel more spacious than it is. And up front, while the seats are comfortable, they are not the most comfortable that I've seen, but they're reasonably comfortable for the class. The headrests are not adjustable here. Most of the cars in this segment don't have adjustable headrests apart from the Tiago, but the seats are generally comfortable, not complaint worthy. Talking specifically about safety, this car comes with driver's side airbag and ABS as standard, although you can get a passenger side airbag as an option even on the Lxi variant, although it's not standard, so that's something that you have to be mindful of. Apart from that, this car also gets seat belt pre-tensioners with force limiters for driver and the co-driver on all the variants as an option, but on the top of the line 1.2 ZXi variant, it comes as standard. The new safety norms mandate that the car should have a warning chime at 80 kilometers per hour, and that's very much here. The rear doors also have child locks, so in terms of safety, all the basics have been covered by Maruti, and that's a good thing to know. Overall, there's a very nice, very neat feeling that you get here. There are no cheap, bad quality plastics or bad assembly. It's all very neatly laid out, very ergonomic. Even this drive selector falls to the hand perfectly, and the WagonR comes across as a very well finished, very practical, very spacious car from the driver's perspective. Let's get to the back seat and see what the state of affairs is, how comfortable it is, and how much space is available there. The rear door also has space for a 1 litre bottle as well as a little more space, and then the door handle here has some space for a wallet. Entry, as I mentioned before, is very easy, and you have a very good amount of legroom, knee room, so space here is not an issue. Headroom is very, very generous, so the space for the rear seat passenger is not a problem. The under thigh support should probably have been a little better because it's not as supportive as I probably would have wanted it to be, but for short to medium journeys there should not be a problem at all. The headrests here are not adjustable, and although there is space for a third passenger here, there is not a headrest in place here. The seats are generally comfortable, and the space, the feeling of space is something that really stands out in the WagonR. It feels like a very spacious car, especially for its size. It feels very, very roomy. As you can see, there is tons of space here, so from a roominess perspective, this car really, really impresses. Now, comparing it with its closest rival, the Santro has a rear AC vent and this car doesn't, so that's one feature that's missing here. You don't have a reading light here, but what you really have is this very useful feature of tumbling the rear seats down 60-40. So if you have something which is longer than what the very cavernous boot can accommodate, you can always tumble the seat down and make it enter the cabin. Which brings us to the boot, which is one of the highlights of this car, and let's go there and see what makes it so special. This is 341 liters of boot space, which is by far the most amount of space in this segment. The Santro has only 235, so 106 extra liters of boot space you have here. You also get this parcel tray for the top variants, but the one omission here is that you don't have an illumination in the boot, which should have been there, I think. As I mentioned before, the car is powered by a 1.0 petrol, which was powering it before as well, and there is a new inclusion, which is the 1.2 petrol with 82 HP and 113 Newton meters of torque. The car that I'm driving right now, the 1.0 engine produces 67 HP and 90 Newton meters of torque. If you compare it with the Santro has 1.1 liter of an engine with 68 HP and 99 Newton meters of torque. So it's slightly more, but it's not much of a difference. But the fuel efficiency here is very, very impressive. Even for the 1.2, the fuel efficiency is 21.5 kmpl, and for the 1.0, the fuel efficiency is 22.5 kmpl, which is 10% up on the previous generation of this engine. In both the variants, the engine has been mated to a 5-speed manual as well as a 5-speed AMT, which is AGS. And I'm happy to report here that the AGS or the AMT, it's working very well for city use, as the case has been with all the other Maruti cars. It works very, very well, very smooth gear shifts, and even when you want to move it to manual and shift, the response is pretty quick. So that way the AGS works very, very well without giving up on efficiency. If you want a car within the city, it works phenomenally well. Obviously, this is not a car meant for the enthusiast, and a lot of you wanted to know how well the new WagonR fares dynamically. Well, it's slightly better than the previous generation car, but the steering here is still vague. But the real quality of this car is the fact that it's very, very good at the low end of the rev range, and within the city, even if you're driving at 1000 rpm in 4th gear, there is response from the engine and it builds power very linearly, and that really translates into very good fuel efficiency. And even on the 1.2, we have managed a fuel efficiency of 19.5 kmpl on the highway, while you're not driving with fuel efficiency particularly in our mind. So all of that makes it a very usable package for all practical purposes. As I was mentioning, it's not a package for the enthusiast. The steering is very inert at the center, the suspension is sprung on the softer side, and the dynamic ability of this car, if I really have to put things in perspective, I think the Santro fares slightly better than this car around corners and at the steering as well. I think the NVH levels on this cars are pretty good, but if you really put things in comparison, the Santro is slightly better. However, by itself, the NVH levels here are pretty good. There is no wind noise, but there is a bit of an engine noise coming in, especially when you accelerate a little bit. So it's definitely a step in the right direction. It's a big improvement over the car that it replaces. And in terms of the peppiness of the engine, in terms of the fuel efficiency, the practicality and everything, this car really scores very well. But from a refinement perspective, I think the Santro is slightly better. The manual gearbox is also a pleasure to use. It's got these short throws, it falls very easily to the hand, and there is no notchiness or rubberiness to it. It's a pleasure to operate, and the gearbox here is really a delight. I really think that while the AGS is very good for the city, the manual also is fantastic, and it's totally free of any hassle. Now the prices of the new WagonR 1.0 start from 4.19 lakh rupees and go all the way to 5.16 lakh rupees. Now this is the 1.0 variant. The 1.2 variant is more expensive, but I think the Santro can be compared to the 1.0 better. And the prices of the WagonR start from 3.9 lakh rupees, which might sound cheaper for the base variant, but you have to understand that the base variant on the Santro does not come with an AC and this one does. So you have to understand that. If you compare the top end variants, the Santro is 5.47 lakh rupees, which is more expensive than the WagonR. So in that sense, the value for money factor for the WagonR is pretty much there, and it's a very, very good value for money car. If you really have to look at some other options in the market, there's the Go, which is even cheaper. It starts at about 3.3 lakh rupees, but then it has its own issues regarding the network and the features inside. So if you really want to save money, maybe you can look at that car, but for a very well-rounded car, I don't think that it makes the cut. Apart from that, there is this other option of the Tiago, which starts at a lower price and goes at a higher price. It has its own pros and cons, and that also is a contender in the segment. However, the WagonR by itself is a very, very well-rounded package, and if I really have to highlight its USPs, the first is the space. For the kind of size it has phenomenal space inside, especially the boot space. The fuel efficiency is fantastic. We actually got 20 kilometers to the liter on the 1.2, so the 1 liter is going to be even more fuel efficient. Apart from that, it's pretty comfortable, and the infotainment system on the top of the line 1.2 ZXi is pretty feature rich too. Add to that the widespread network of Maruti Suzuki and the fact that WagonR is a high selling car, and it fetches you a very good amount of money when you go back in the market to sell it. And I really think that the new WagonR makes a lot of sense for itself for the first family car for a lot of you. If you're going to buy in this segment, don't make your purchase before you take a test drive of this one. I think on the downside, if I really have to compare it with the Santro has better driving dynamics and it feels a lot more insulated on the inside. But overall, from a space and comfort perspective, I think the WagonR aces it. So I really hope that I was able to sum the WagonR up for you in as much detail as you probably wanted. If you like the video, hit the like button, subscribe to Motoroids, push that bell icon so that you can get all our videos before everyone else. And until next time then, this is Amit Changani signing off. Rev hard, rev free, and drive safe.